Garden City Chickens. I weekly make a video and write about the backyard chickens in my garden. And this week we're talking about avian flu outbreak in the United Kingdom as of November 2020. So to get the latest updates about what's going on, check the news and check the government website. I'm just talking about my own experience here and what I understand, what my understanding is of the guidance that they've provided. Avian flu is a highly infectious disease that causes death in birds. There have been confirmed cases in England in November 2020, and it's now made the UK declare a prevention zone. So all bird keepers are required now to follow biosecurity measures to prevent the spread of the avian flu. Now, since, personally now having lived through COVID, lockdown and restrictions, I have like a greater understanding than I ever have had before about biosecurity and what that means. The flu is being spread through wild birds when they come into, let's say, a poultry space and share their space, or they're sharing the poultry's food or their water. And then from there, the infection can be spread through equipment. So it could be on your boots, or if you're sharing waters and feeders between flocks or between different sites. Now, if you have a small backyard flock of hens like me, you think, does this also apply to me? And yes, it does. These biosecurity measures I'll talk about in a minute, it applies to everyone, and we can all do our part, no matter how small or insignificant we think our little group is. We can all play a part in stopping the spread of the flu. There's a list of good practices, which are now currently mandatory, that have been published by DEFRA, which is the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs in the United Kingdom. So what do I need to do as a backyard chicken owner? I've read through the guidance, and this is my understanding of what I need to do. I need to keep the chicken's food and water inside an enclosed run in my coop so wild birds don't get to it. I need to make my the space that my chickens roam in unattractive to wild birds, which we do already. We don't keep a bird wild food station or wild bird baths. We don't have a pond in our garden. I need to keep the shoes that I use clean and disinfected, and have a designated pair that I use just with my hens. Also, a new thing I can start doing is disinfecting the concrete that I have on my patio area. I do sweep it almost daily or hose it down quite regularly, but to add a disinfectant to it, that's something I can step up. And also disinfect my shoes. I don't normally do that. We do, however, in our family have designated pairs of shoes for the rear garden, but that's just more to do with they get muddy and chicken pooey, so those are our garden shoes. But now that's also a good reason to keep stricter about that. Another part of the guidance is keeping your chickens out of wet areas, consistently wet areas, like fencing off a pond area or a swampy area. Nothing like that. I don't have an area like that currently in my yard, so that doesn't apply to me. And then finally, not visiting other flocks, other poultry, unless I take measures to disinfect my shoes or my clothing or equipment. I don't do that at the moment. I do have a neighbor 2 doors down who keeps hens. I don't normally pop around and see her hens. I mean, we talk about her chickens quite often. But if I was to go over and see her for some reason, then I would have to follow those measures. If you live in the UK, you can sign up to a free text alert service that's run by DEFRA, and they'll notify you if there's any new disease outbreaks and updates on what's going on. And I've found that really helpful. Before I even saw avian flu in the news, I had it right on my phone, and that allows me to start protecting my flock as soon as possible. There have been 3 confirmed cases so far in England of avian flu, and one has been in a small holding in Kent, and that was on the 2nd of November. and then at a broiler breeding premises in Frodsham, Cheshire, and that was on the 3rd of November, and also at another broiler breeding premises, and that was in Herefordshire, and that was on the 10th of November. So these are the confirmed of captive birds, and I believe they've also had some, definitely last year as well, of wild birds having this avian flu. There is very low risk for humans catching this flu through eating meat products or egg products. So those continue to be safe, and they're still safe to purchase and to consume as long as you're cooking them thoroughly, like is always recommended. During this time, it's also really helpful that if you come across ever see like a dead water bird, like a dead duck or a swan or a gull or a duck, you need to report that to DEFRA. And if you have any suspicion of disease in your own flock, you're required to report that to the APHA, which is the Animal Plant and Health Agency.